All right. Wow. I'm kind of scared about what's about to happen over the next short while. I don't know how long it's going to be. I might just end it. But suffice it to say, there's not too many brands, not too many products, not too many iconic names, that I can think of that represent South Africa. Simba Chips, Rooibos Tea, Chappies, Biltong, probably Table Mountain are got to be up there close to the top 5, top 10. And then there's this one, Veldskoen. And joining me today is not just one of them, not two of them, but all three of them, the founders of Veldskoen Shoes here in South Africa, Nick Latouf, Nick Dreyer, Ross Zondag. Gents, thanks so much for your time. Just the introduction before we started this has already got me nervous, concerned, worried, scared shitless. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. But thanks for your time and thanks for chatting to me this Thursday morning.
That's a huge pleasure, and thank you. We'll show up to the opening of an envelope, and if we get the opportunity to talk about Veldskoen, and it's a privilege for us to be able to talk about it because it's a cool story. And Mark, thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate being able to come and pollute your podcast for a couple of minutes.
So the first hard question, I know we were concerned about some of the hard questions that were going to be asked, and this is the first hard question is actually a show and tell. So by way of show and tell, I need you all to show me your shoes right now.
Good one.
A great one. Plucky.
There's a Plucky, right?
Okay. So mine's the most interesting.
Man.
Unless that is one of our in development shoes.
It is not. It's my. So I've got strict rules at home about shoes in the house. So this is my in-house shoe.
Okay. Well, we need to develop one, and then mine, obviously the winner.
Ross just relax there.
There we go.
No. Look, Nick, I think we're going to have to unpack.
The chucker boot.
No, we're going to have to unpack your in-house shoe. I mean, that's the thing I'd like to understand. I mean, is this like a house rule?
So there's a rule.
You come home and then you change into a house shoe, or like what is a house shoe?
There's no shoes in my house. So if I want to wear shoes in my house, it has to be shoes that haven't been outside.
So it literally is an in-house shoe, hey? So those shoes haven't touched dirt, eh?
No.
What you should do is just take them outside for a little bit.
Yeah, just a little smooth.
Well, guys, I think the first hard question passed by most of you. Can I put it that way?
Except Nick Latouf.
Yeah. So once again, to those watching and listening, the founders of Veldskoen Shoes. I mean, the stories, the research that I've done into this conversation, inspiring to say the least. It's almost 4 years, almost to the event, if we could put it that way. The Olympics, the last Olympics, was the start of it all. That's when the idea for Veldskoen Shoes was born. Give us a little bit more insight in terms of why the passion all of a sudden to take something that is like I mentioned in the introduction, probably as iconic as the country, the mountain itself, and suddenly turn it into a business that has now gone global.
Me, Mark. I think to be honest with you, as I said, the story began with Nick was on his way down from Plet. I was based in Cape Town, and it was sort of mid-morning. And he phoned me and said, "Listen, I'm actually traveling down, back from Plet to Cape Town," and literally it was a case of saying, "Listen, I just need someone to sort of entertain me and talk about shit." And that was how it started. And one of the topics that we spoke about was the Olympics. And one of the things that really stood out for me was, when the guys and girls walked out into the stadium, to me they really didn't represent what South Africa was about. They had these sort of baggy tracksuits on, and just didn't show any pride in our nation. So, and then I think myself and Nick just started. We spoke about this, saying, well, if they weren't in tracksuits, what could they wear? And it was just an off the cuff sort of conversation. And one of the things that we saw came about is that they could have been maybe wearing a Madiba shirt, or they could have been having at least had a beautiful sort of Protea or Springbok blazer on, or something that was just more representative of our country. And we obviously just went down. We said, well, so what else? And we were trying to think of sort of iconic sort of South African clothing items, and we couldn't really come up with anything except Veldskoen, And but the truth of the matter is that your traditional Veldskoen wasn't really a very fashionable, or it wasn't really a very popular shoe. So for us, that's the first thing that we said. We said, nice idea, but I don't know if that's really going to help them. But it's most probably what they should have been wearing. And then we went down. Actually, Nick said, listen, he had actually bought himself a pair of Cole Haans, and Cole Haan had done a collaboration with himself and Nike, where they had taken an old Brogue shoe, or Oxford shoe, my apology, and put a yellow Nike sole on. And he said, geez, imagine if we did that with Veldskoen. Maybe that would actually just, brighten it up. And I think Nick said, listen, he said, take our flag, let's put some colors into the shoes and see what happens. And he had a designer that was on his book at that stage. And literally he phoned the designer saying, listen, just Google a picture of Veldskoen, and then take the sole and just change the colors. And I think the guy took about another half an hour or 40 minutes, and he sent an image through to Nick. And Nick sent it through to me. And as you scrolled through, it was just the colors that changed. And it was actually quite a nice shoe. And I think we just kept on, that conversation just kept on going, saying, well, that's quite interesting. And we sort of developed the story from there. But the big question was, what do you call it? What will we call this Veldskoen? And to be honest with you, I think we were just as lazy as could be, and said, well, call it what it is, which is a Veldskoen. And that's exactly how we started. It was just it's a Veldskoen. You can't call it anything else. You can't call it Ross and Nick's Veldskoen, because it just didn't have the same thing. So, but then Nick obviously said, but listen, you can't call it a Veldskoen because obviously someone's trademarked it, and there is a Veldskoen out there. And subsequently, once again, put down the phone and started phoning around. My father's in the legal fraternity. So I phoned him and I said, listen, can you find out if Veldskoen's been trademarked? And he came back to me and said, listen, it actually hasn't. So we just thought, well, maybe there's an option. There's actually a thing, So we went ahead and we did the application to trademark Veldskoen, the brand. And that's how the story began.
I suppose it's kind of bizarre to think that after all these years, the term Veldskoen, the name Veldskoen, has not been trademarked, and it was you guys that were doing it for the first time. I mean, that in itself is bizarre level number one.
But the one thing I just want to say about that is that we never, we didn't look at it from we didn't go and say, look, I think there's obviously we understood the commercial viability and the commercial opportunity, but we never really trademarked Veldskoen for the eureka moment to go, oh, we the trademark holders of Veldskoen. That's not why we did it.
No.
We did it because we felt that is what it should be.
Yeah.
And so it comes back to in our DNA, we don't really consider ourselves the founders of Veldskoen. We just happen to be the custodians of a business that has taken a South African icon and made it into a global feel-good brand.
Yeah.
And so when we trademarked Veldskoen, we kind of felt we were obligated to do it because this needed to be done. This was one of the things that had to happen. And I think that is indicative of our sort of culture, which is we accept that Veldskoen had been around for 200 years before Ross and Nick arrived, and it's going to be around for 1,000 years after us. So our job was just to get it right. And I think we've managed to do that. Yes, there's a commercial aspect to our business, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we felt that we had to do the right thing for the product and for the shoe. So that was the lens through which we looked at the trademark.
Broadening that lens, looking at the other iconic name that you also use within your business for the other, let's call it footwear type that you offer is the Plucky. I mean, I don't see that trademarked at the moment? I mean, is it currently trademarked, or are there plans in place? I mean, because the term Plucky is something that we all grew up with, as kids, put your Pluckies on, get outside. We don't want to see you, that kind of thing. And I mean, you guys have taken that, in my opinion, as well, to the next level in terms of the naming of something that we've all grown up with.
I think, I think we can have a sort of open discussion about that. It's not about, as I said, I think to Nick's point, I don't think the three of us ever thought, we didn't see the commercial side of naming it Plucky, or we didn't see the commercial side of naming it Veldskoen. It was just because it is a Veldskoen. The fact of the matter is that there was never a brand called Veldskoen, and there was never a brand called Plucky. So what we wanted to own is we wanted to do, we called it what it is, because in this sort of digital world, it's a lot easier to call and not have to explain what the product is. So a Veldskoen is a Veldskoen. Everyone knows what a Veldskoen is, and they know what you're buying. Everyone knows what a flip-flop or a Plucky is, because that's what you're buying. So I think the naming convention it was more a case of just saying, we're going to name it what it is, and it simplifies, it has, going forward, it has simplified our life.
I also think there's an element of, we're long on South Africa. You don't have to read very much to realize that we're kind of champion South Africa. This is how we built. All three of us. But I don't know if you know what happened to UGG in Australia, where it was bought over by a big firm, and it's effectively a Chinese manufactured business that is based in the States. Sadly, yes. And which sadly does not benefit Australia in any way, shape, or form, and then is in fact a little bit. They're always having a conflict in Australia about local manufacturers making these boots called UGG boots. Now, what we felt with Veldskoen was, in South Africa, we're not gonna get upset with somebody that makes a Veldskoen. I mean, how could you possibly do that? It's not the right thing to do. And in fact, we set out to encourage others to start making Veldskoen. So I think somebody gave me a stat the other day. I think 15 new companies have opened selling Veldskoen businesses since we started.
No, it's like 22.
Maybe 20 odd. No,
it's been 15 to 20 a year since we started.
Yeah. So, and what's happening is that the right thing is happening, which is more South Africans are wearing Veldskoen, and more South Africans are making a living making Veldskoen. And I think, this is what we want to do. But if the pie gets bigger, we'll do better. But we're not really that fussed about owning the pie. That's not our game. But the one thing that we will do, and it's a lesson from what happened in Australia, is that if you're in Germany or Spain or Switzerland or the US or Australia, don't go and do a Veldskoen without letting it benefit South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we're strong on. So, that's where they mustn't come and bugger around with South Africa here. Because, I mean, we're trying to add value into our supply chain, employ more people. We're trying to make the market bigger here in South Africa. We're encouraging other manufacturers. So don't take it from us abroad. And if we have to do that bit of fighting or that bit of let's call it control, then we're happy to do that.
I think Mark, just to jump onto that as well. I mean, and this is the one aspect that we also want to change in terms of South Africa. The one thing I think South Africans have lacked is a bit of confidence. And I think the reason why Veldskoen has never been trademarked is because no one really had the confidence of trademarking Veldskoen and actually making it a brand or a product. And I think that's what we've seen. The fact of the matter is that we want to make sure that when the world comes here and when we go there, is that they take the product and go, this is made in South Africa, and you can say it with confidence and pride, and it's a great quality product. And I think that's one of the things that we also want to change in terms of how the world recognizes products that come from South Africa, where they take a product and go, this is a South African product. I'm confident in it and I'm comfortable in it, and I'm gonna and I'll use that product, whatever it may be, whether it's shoes or clothing or whatever product comes out of here. And I think that's what we want to try to change as well. Just that perception of the world to say the things that are coming out of South Africa are actually incredible things.
Absolutely. And I thank you for saying that. I think I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, there is so much good coming out of this country. And I mean, you guys are now flying that flag with a brand that with a product that you've now turned into a brand, and many others are now starting to follow suit. So thanks for that. And My final question, just on the naming, I have to ask. I mean, when it came to picking the name, I mean, did the word Felly never come into the equation, part of the discussion? Because it's the colloquial word, it's the colloquial naming for the shoe. Like you say, Veldskoen is a Veldskoen, but Felly is what we all probably know it as the minute you've put your feet into them for the very first time.
Funny you ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw it. We knew that right at the beginning. In fact, we protected that as well, and we've never used it at a high level as a brand, but we've always been fully aware of the importance of that, and we've folded it into the Veldskoen family of words that describe our shoe.
Okay.
It's also useful. It's very useful in Taiwan, where they can't say Veldskoen.
And America, I would imagine as well.
Exactly. So it's part of our bucket of descriptors and the way we associate to Veldskoen the brand. But ultimately, it's Veldskoen the brand, which is the far-reaching brand, and then Felly can be used as a descriptor for our shoes, but it also has the ability in the future to possibly stand alone. But for now, it sits inside the family of Veldskoen descriptors.
Thanks for that. Looking at the business now, almost 4 years later, you guys have got some serious business associates attached to this business. You've pulled them together in a record time. I mean, there are businesses that have been around for far longer than you guys that cannot look at the list of business associates that you guys have got attached to you. And just to name a few: Brian Joffrey, Steve Watts, Mark Cuban, Ashton Kutcher. I mean, guys, how the hell did you get that right?
We haven't slept in 4.5 years, Mark.
Yeah, I'm looking at your face and I can see that. Nick, how did that all come about?
No, listen, it's an interesting question, but I think it's made less interesting by the fact that we've got a really amazing product and a business case that supports an iconic brand. And what we had to do is just be prudent and to make sure that we could build a responsible business, but critically, we had to actually build a business. So the three of us for a full year sat in a 1 by or 2 by 2 meter office, literally selling shoes. And it's that old analogy. Before you have a dairy farm, you should sell a couple of eggs. And I think we learned that. We built our systems ourselves. We had a business that was fundamentally sound. And then when the opportunity came to take on board partners, we considered them very carefully. But we were an attractive offering because, of course, there's this legacy branding association to our company, which is amazing. We have we're lucky enough to have a good network, but it's a network based on the fact that we're trying to do the right thing and trying to be nice. That's the trick. We're also not the most commercially driven individuals as individuals. So I think there's an authenticity about us. When we say that we want to be the custodians, it's a lot easier to talk to a guy who wants to be a custodian than a guy that wants to be the future knight of Nike. You know what I mean? So our ambitions are slightly different, and I think that was attractive to potential entrants. It's interesting though, because we've come quite a long way, and of course we've got the headline shareholders in the States. The update is that we've gone in South Africa, we've gone through partners as is documented, and of course the headline being Long for Life. We've subsequently, in fact, we still are in business with them through their retailers. In fact, Outdoor Warehouse is one of our key partners, if not our key retail partner. But we've managed to consolidate the business back into the family. So even though we work closely with them, but we're blessed in that we've had really great mentors in this business. We've had really great advice, and we've especially, and I'm so grateful to Long for Life. This business operates at a reporting level like a JSE business, a listed company, and we've got an incredibly talented boss Drickie Zondag, which is Ross's wife, and I say that clearly. That's who we report to, and Ross reports to her twice.
Morning, noon, and night. You mean 3 times?
Yeah,
100%.
exactly. And but we've had these great partners, and we've had great mentors, and we hope to do well by all our shareholders and our partners.
But Mark, just to sort of jump onto that as well. I mean, I think there's something also, bar sort of Nick Latouf's house shoes. I just want to know, maybe Nick can explain to me, is why you have to sell eggs in order to have a dairy farm.
I also quite didn't get that one.
I didn't get that either. Hey? So do you want to unpack why you have to sell eggs?
Yeah.
To get
Would have related back to cows.
Yeah, I will relate back to cows. But that's obviously another.
I haven't slept in 4 years, so my apologies if my metaphor was mixed.
I was actually hoping that metaphor was going to come back to the leather component of it, but yeah, that eggs question is just as good.
But I was trying to save it now. Trying to think, how do you milk a chicken?
Why would you milk it? No, Mark, but look, I think Nick has exactly said it. But to be honest with you, I think one of our core principles, I think, between the three of us is we've always wanted to have a business that's fun. We never, as I said, we never take each other seriously. We've had the great fortitude of being at school together. So we've gone through a mill of 5 years of actually just knowing each other. And in that, it brings a level of comfort within the business where we can joke around. And I mean, we've had very serious moments where I think the three of us have had, taken a situation that's very serious and had good laughs about it. And I think that's what's attracted a lot of the sort of maybe more sort of recognized partners, is the fact that when they meet us and they meet our company, they can see it's actually a happy company. It's a fun company. Yes, there's a very serious side to it, and I think there's a very big responsibility to it. But the fact of the matter is that we don't take ourselves too serious, and in that, I think we've learned that you can attract the guys like your Mark Cubans and Ashton Kutchers. You don't have to follow the same suit as everyone thinks that you have to. Anything is possible. The fact of the matter is that everything that myself, Nick, and Nick talk about, or anyone in our business, speak about, it really does happen. Just simply because we're naive to the fact that there are restrictions, or there are, I mean, Nick will come in and say, okay, guys, I want to get Matthew McConaughey in our shoes, and it's not at one stage does anyone go, no, that's not possible, or it's like, okay, cool, like, who do we phone? Well, like, I know this one and that one, and then you just start putting it together. So, attracting people like that, I think, just gives us more of a rubber stamp to the business that what we're doing is right, and that business doesn't always have to be as serious. There can be a big fun element to it as well.
Okay.
If I can add to that, I mean, I think what Ross is saying is so important. If anyone is listening that has a business, not only has a business but worked in a business that was super strict and had a very hard boss, and kind of very old school.
We've all had that.
We've all had that, and we've never wanted to build a business like that. And you know what? At the end of the day, it works. It 100% works. There's an energy in the business that, like Ross says, it attracts all the right people globally. If we want to put our shoes on Matthew McConaughey, that was a conversation that happened, and we've seen him twice in the news wearing Veldskoen. Recently, he announced that he's potentially going to run for governor wearing a pair of blue J-Bay Veldskoen, which is just absolutely
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. And then he's in this ad, this TV ad that's doing the rounds in America, saying that movie theaters are about to open up, and he's doing this ad in a pair of Veldskoen. So it really does tie back to the fact that we are super open, collaborative. We look after our team. Our team loves working in the business. We have this idea inside the business that if anybody wants to start their own thing, that they can, and some of the guys have. And very successfully, which we'll touch on. So I think it's a really important lesson that you don't have to run businesses the way the old guys do.
Oh, that's fascinating to hear, and particularly that piece about encouraging your staff to actually do their own thing, get going, start building incomes for themselves. I mean, that's great stuff, guys. It's fantastic and awesome to hear. But Nick, as Nick Lattouf, as we were talking before the other two jumped on, here's the bone that I have to pick with you guys. So as the current patrons, the guys that look after the brand, the custodians of the brand, and looking at your site, honestly, a little bit disappointed. I thought you guys would have at least paid homage to arguably the greatest exponent of the brand.
No way this is going.
David Kramer and his red fellies. Where the heck can we buy a pair of red fellies on your website? And why can't we?
So who's going to answer this question?
Not me.
No. I want Nick Lattouf to answer this. He's been decidedly quiet, letting you guys jump in. So
yeah,
come on, Nick.
I agree with you there, Mark. He has been decidedly quiet, but I mean, it's he didn't have a good start to the podcast. So
I don't know if this. I'll say, look, I don't know if this is the right answer, and I don't know if there is a right answer. Is David Kramer and Veldskoen not the old way of looking at Veldskoen? Maybe I'm wrong, but I potentially think it is. We've come and we've made Veldskoen for everyone. We've reimagined the shoe that had a very specific lens, and we've reimagined it for everyone in a time that is super diverse and exciting. I remember Nick and I sitting at a place in Camps Bay where there was this big DSTV event happening, and David Kramer was sitting at a table next to us, and it was super interesting to me because the lens that I was looking at this was, here we were pitching this incredible TV series to the guys at DSTV who were just lapping it up, and this idea was coming across, and next to us was David Kramer, who used to be the iconic face of Veldskoen. So I just think that, he, in the story of Veldskoen, he absolutely has a place and always will. But we've reimagined it into something global and something special and something diverse for everyone. And I hope that's kind of the right answer. That's how I see it.
I will also say that we completely acknowledge David, and I think there will come a day when the baton is passed. And I think it would be fun to do stuff with him. But I think Nick is 100% right. Veldskoen really did need reimagining and repositioning, I think
also in case of storytelling, the one thing that we realize about Veldskoen in terms of history is that Veldskoen predates a lot of things that what we knew as Veldskoen. So, for example, there was a very interesting sort of a bit of information that came out about a week ago in terms of the Olympics. And there's this iconic photo of a guy by the name of Jan Machina. In 1904, he participated in I think it was in the second or the third official Olympics. And the photo, the guy sort of tweeted us and said, listen, is this Veldskoen ? And the answer to us was yes, 100% it's Veldskoen. So I think there have been a lot of iconic people that have worn Veldskoen. And David Kramer is definitely one of them. He's definitely a figurehead that's worn it. But pre-David Kramer, there are a lot of other figures that have worn it that we want to shine a light on. And I think it's not a case of that we've missed David Kramer. I think there's a space for David Kramer and his shoe. And I think it's an iconic shoe. But I don't think that's the only story we want to tell. Okay. So I think we haven't targeted David Kramer because I think he had a space. But I think there's a much broader story to tell about Veldskoen than just one aspect.
And obviously, I'm very mindful of time here, but looking at where that story is going to now, the future certainly looks bright for you guys, especially off the back of the news, which has kept you guys away from the business and talking to people like me for the last couple of months, I would think, is that Veldskoen is now the official off-field shoe for the South African Olympians at Tokyo. As a brand that already had global impetus with the business associates that you've got, this takes it to an altogether different level, surely.
I think it does. once again, I think for us, I think we go back to what we want to try and accomplish. We want to shine a light on and in South Africa. So for us, our global reach, we want people to sort of recognize and go, they hear about Veldskoen in the 28 different countries that we're in, and then for them to say, listen, but what is South Africa about, and to understand our country, and to come and visit here. And I think that's what we want to do. And I think that's for me, that's what's important. It's about telling a South African story. And if the Olympics helps us to tell a better story about South Africa and where we are and what we are, I think we've accomplished our goal.
Please, yeah, 100% makes sense. But please, can I ask this question? Is it part and parcel of the agreement with the Olympic Committee here in South Africa that your shoes may not be paired with cheap tracksuits?
I'll give Saskok a lot of credit there. They actually worked with us right from the beginning, with not just ourselves but also the apparel sponsor, the on-field apparel sponsors, Mr. Price Sport, and then they've also used local designers to address the problematic subject, which is the opening ceremony. And I'm not going to give away the surprise, but it is. I can tell you that our Veldskoens are going to look great, and we're proud to be part of the uniform, and they'll get a lot of airtime. In fact, the only thing I will tell you, I don't know, they won't have an issue with it. They're wearing shorts, which is great.
Okay, that's awesome.
Maybe try cut that one out. I'm not sure if they're going to be.
An issue, there might be a rights issue here, so I'll let you know if you need to cut that.
Okay, cool.
They're going to look. They're going to
look great.
They're going to look great. I think Mr. Price Sport has done exceptionally well. Saskok has paid a lot of attention to what people have said, and I think Mr. Price is going to Sport is going to hit a home run.
Park. Our athletes are going to look better than they've ever looked. Guaranteed.
Well, gentlemen, I really, really thank you for your time. I hopefully I get an opportunity to talk to you closer to the Olympics, maybe just after the Olympic ceremony, get your thoughts on what your product looked like on global television. Nick Lattouf, Nick Dreyer, Ross Zondag, thanks so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Look forward to watching the brand explode around the world, and particularly off the back of Tokyo in the next couple of months.
Mark, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
We're all in it together, Mark, and we're deeply grateful for having been participatory with your audience, and so really, it's we're the ones that are thankful. Thank you very much.
And just a last note. Just remember, you need to sell eggs before you can milk a cow. Hey?
Yeah. That's the big business takeaway from that.
Remember that one, Mark. And I hope you apply that to your business as well.
Straight after this, I'm going to draw that picture because I still can't work that out in my head.
No, it's you need to
sell
business.
Eggs in order to milk a cow.
It's a highly complex business metaphor there, guys.
Yeah.
And I leave it with you to solve it.
It's very complex, and we're going to unpack it for the next year. So give us a call in a year, Mark. We will have an answer for you.
Gentlemen, thanks for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks,
Cheers, Mark.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.